I'd like to welcome you to today's Black Philanthropy Month celebration. Black Philanthropy, Connecticut's community giving is our theme, and we are celebrating the global Black Philanthropy Month's 11th anniversary. So we present this to you in partnership between four foundations, four of the foundations that are here in Connecticut: the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven, the Fairfield County Community Foundation, Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, and the Prosperity Fund. So I just want to share with you a few points on how we'll engage today. All of our participants are muted. Closed captioning is on, but you have total control of that. So you'll see closed captioning at the bottom of your screen. And if you just hit that, then you can turn it on or turn it off according to what's comfortable for you. If you're having any challenges at all, you can put a note in the chat feature at the bottom, and there will be an opportunity to ask questions at the end of today's webinar also, and you'll see that Q&A button at the bottom as well. So again, if you're having any challenges, please note that in the chat feature. And if you have any questions or answers for our panelists, certainly use the Q&A feature at the bottom. I think that I've done everything. I've mentioned everything that's important for you to know, to engage and have a great experience today. So allow me to introduce Leon Bailey Jr., our Senior Vice President for Human Resources and Organizational Culture here at the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Leon Bailey.
Erica, thank you so much. You get very few honors in life that stand out in a way that causes the hairs on the back of your neck to stand up. Well, I have one of those experiences of honor today. I have the honor of introducing Babz Rawls-Ivy, who is a nationally known personality and located here in New Haven. What a gift we have. And a little bit about Babz. Babz is editor-in-chief of the Inner City News. The Inner City News is 30 years old, actually older than that. And it's an award-winning weekly print publication published by Penfield Communication. The Inner City News is a Black-owned legacy publication, one of two Black print publications in New England. She's also a morning radio talk show personality and producer of LoveBabz LoveTALK show on 103.5 WNNH LP Community Radio. And that's on every Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Tune in, you will enjoy the presentation. Babz is a nationally recognized popular blogger and social media thought leader. She's a popular podcaster and frequently sought after guests on local and national radio programs, television, and podcasts. Babz has a BA in marketing from Barber Scotia College, a historically Black college in Concord, North Carolina. A National Urban Fellow with a Master's in Public Administration, Group City University, New York. A certified spiritual director, the Mercy Center School of Spirituality and Practicum in Madison, Connecticut. She's got a lot of good stuff going on. Babz is no joke. She's board and trustee of many, many commitments. Planned Parenthood of Southern New England, co-chair of Common Ground High School, chair Arts Council Greater New Haven Board, Long Wharf Theater Board, member New Haven Alumni Chapter, Delta Sigma Theta. And I'm not hating, but she's currently on the Vineyard, probably related to Delta Sigma Theta, but I'm not hating. Being on the Vineyard is quite nice. And most importantly, or relevant to the conversation we're having today, Babz is founder and creator of the Freed Women's Fund, a fund that's created to aid Black women exiting prison, returning back to the community, which is such a needed service. So without any further ado, I present to you Babz Rawls-Ivy. Babz, please.
Good afternoon. Greetings. It is so nice to be here and to see y'all. Yes, I am on Martha's Vineyard because a girl got to take vacation. And but I could not pass up the opportunity to support my soror and friend Erica Bradley when she called me to ask about facilitating this conversation. I had to say yes because celebrating Black philanthropy is a new concept to me, and now that I am considered a philanthropist in the realest possible ways, I just couldn't turn down the opportunity to sort of do this. So I am delighted. And oftentimes when we think about philanthropy, we never think about everyday ordinary people. We always think about celebrity or very, very rich people, and very few Black people, although according to the Pew Foundation of Research, Black people are the most giving people in the country. So the fact that we're celebrating Black Philanthropy Month is huge. So let's get started with the conversation. Thank you, Leon Bailey, for those kind words. I appreciate it greatly. This panel, I am blown away by these folks. Carl Hardrick, Senior Advisor of the Brother Carl Institute, Paula Irvin, my sorority sister, President of the New Haven Alumni Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, and JoAnn H. Price, Co-Founder, Managing Partner, Fairview Capital Partners, and Daniel Trust, Executive Chairman of Daniel Trust Foundation. So I want them all to come on so that we can begin the conversation and dispel myths and get other people to think about how they too can create long-lasting legacy for generations to come. Welcome. It is nice to see y'all. Unmute yourself. Say hello.
It's so nice to see you.
How are you all doing?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm good. You know what? I'm delighted to have this conversation about Black philanthropy because, I don't think people think about everyday, ordinary people who they are around on a regular basis, taking fundraising for causes that they care about to the next level, and creating a fund is next level fundraising into the future, I think. So Daniel, give us the elevator pitch of why you have a trust, why do you have a fund, and why it's important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I started my foundation because I really wanted to give back to the community. I came to the United States as a refugee when I was 15 years old. And when I came, I had nothing. But when I landed in Bridgeport, I was welcomed by many community organizations, and they really supported me, taught me how to speak English. When I graduated high school, they offered me scholarships and mentorship. So when I graduated college, I said, I want to do the same thing for young people too. So my mission with Daniel Trust Foundation is to support young people, through mentorship and scholarships here in the United States. And it's really, the passion is paying it forward, making a difference. And there's also a big need for the work that I do to support first generation and low income students.
I love it. I love it. So Paula, tell us why Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Sorority Incorporated is part of this kind of legacy building. And is there anybody else doing this too, or are we the only ones?
Absolutely. So first, I will have to give some history. I know you all have heard Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So just want to give a little background of who we are, the New Haven Alumni Chapter. The sorority was founded on January 13, 1913 by 22 collegiate women. So when you think about just the longevity of that itself, 109 years we've been doing the work for our communities. And the New Haven Alumni Chapter was chartered by 23 members on October 3rd, 1959. Over 60 years in New Haven. So let's just look at those numbers. So it's very important that what we do in our community, it has an everlasting legacy. So we established the fund in 2006, and we are the only African-American sorority who has a fund established at the Community Foundation. So we are delighted to have this partnership and excited to talk more about it today.
Thank you very much. So we have other guests on this panel, and they might be having some technical challenges, but they will pop in and we will converse with them as they get in and on with us. So Paula, why was this important to start this? What is the point? What is the mission? why now, and why in this moment is this important?
Yes. So again, the fund was established in 2006. So we're coming over a little bit of 15 years now of having this fund. And it really started with a $10,000 match, right? So we started the fund with the foundation, community foundation, saying, okay, we'll raise the 10,000 and we'll get it matched. And it's grown tremendously since. Members have been donating every year, some monthly, to this fund. And just want to highlight a couple of our members that really who worked on this and got it started. Our member Dolores Greenlee, a member of the chapter and former project director for New Haven Healthy Start, she played a key role in getting the fund established. She, along with other chapter members, wanted to ensure that recognizing, so this is a scholarship fund, so recognizing high school students for their scholastic endeavors of attending college. And it will continue through the future. So again, we hear it a lot, okay, do we have to go to college? So, okay, the fund is really scholarship. So whether it's trade school, whether it's college, we want to promote after school what that looks like for these high school students.
I love it. And so Daniel, did you know anything about creating a foundation and a fund when you started this? Like, what was the catalyst? Like, how did you, I know you didn't just wake up one day and say, you know what, I think I'm gonna start a foundation. What was the road for you to this?
Yeah, the road was very challenging, and it still is challenging. You know, I didn't know anything about starting nonprofits, but I was able to self-teach myself. A lot of things I've been able to self-teach myself, and also I've participated in many workshops that are offered at my local, the Fairfield County's Community Foundation, you know, participating in their nonprofit excellence workshops. And so that helped a lot. But a lot of things, really, it's just doing and learning and just trying to learn from people who have done it before, you know, but it's very challenging, especially, I think I'm so honored that I'm on this panel today celebrating Black Philanthropy Month, because a lot of times, you know, for example, for somebody like me, I feel overlooked a lot of times. And so to be given this opportunity to be elevated, to you know, I feel seen. So I want to thank the 4 community foundations that are doing this. I think it's important that we as a community continue to uplift people like me who are in the community, who are grassroots, who are making a difference in so many people's lives.
Mm-hmm. So Paula, when you talk about scholarship money for anybody who is going off to college, or maybe not to college, but some other secondary form of education, that's a unique kind of that's a unique thought process, because everyone is very sort of focused on sending kids to college without thought to other educational opportunities that would be available. And those other educational opportunities cost money. So talk a little bit about that.
Are you referencing like books or?
Just like everyone may not go to college, so there might be training programs or technical outlets, or talk a little bit about the thinking why the sorority said we're going to open this up not just for collegiate aspiration.
Yes, so it's important that we understand that times have changed, right? There's not just the traditional college institutions anymore. There's trade schools. There's a form of education that you can get post high school. So it's important that we allow the students to have the opportunity to explore what those opportunities look like. So we do ask for verification of enrollment to the schools. And again, that could be the trade schools, that could be college, universities, whatever the case may be, but we're gonna just promote them getting a post-education to really further their interests after high school.
Welcome, Carl Hardrick and JoAnn Price. It's nice to see y'all.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
So let me let y'all catch up with the rest of us. Tell us a little bit about, give us the elevator pitch of your story and why you started your fund.
So the Brother Carl Institute Fund, and I'm JoAnn Price, and of course this is Brother Carl Hardrick. We started the fund based on the work of Brother Carl in the city of Hartford and around the country in the area of gun violence and also community engagement. And so we felt that an institution needed to be built to build upon the work that he has done over 4 decades. And so the work of the institution at this point and the building of it has everything to do with the work that he's done. And we're looking now to take it around the state and of course, eventually the country. So the Institute is building, in a broad way, in the sense that we always, to be able to do the work effectively, you have to be able to build the resources to enable that to happen. So we built out initially at the YMCA because we felt that this Y was located in the community, and we are building the philanthropy around the Institute's work. And Brother Carl can speak a little bit to the work that he's done and what we are looking to build around what he has done over the course of 4 decades.
Thank you. We're looking at the Institute as changing the community. After working for a long period of time, looking at what worked and why. What are the things worked back then? What can we use today? And we look at the changes of the community, the violence in the community. It affects everybody, whether you're going to school, whether you're not going to school. So based on the work that we have done, we know it's important. The community don't care how much you know. They want to know how much do you care. And that caring goes, are you willing to go into the community to address the issues, whether it be someone selling drugs or someone doing something violent? Can you approach them? We were like interveners. We didn't really know what we were doing. The community began to trust us because we were always there for them. And we wasn't part of the problem, we were part of the solution. And what we said was, if we're gonna stop crime in the community, it has to come from the bottom up and not the top down, which means we have to train individuals in the community to have faith, contact, communication with other individuals, that they can trust you, that they can tell you what's gonna happen before it happens. An intervener, for example, you look at something on Facebook today, you see somebody battling, you take it, eventually it's gonna hit the street. And if you don't deal with it from the street, it becomes a homicide. So what we need to do is look at what we can do. Who are the people we can contact? Who are the people making those decisions in the community? Who do we need to talk to? And we need the resources to make that happen, whether it can be education, certainly motivating
So
people.
would you all say, Daniel, Paula, and Brother Carl and Miss JoAnn Price, would you say that you all were, when you created these funds and these opportunities for resources, would you say you were feeling a need? Did you look around and sort of say, I don't see anything out there that sort of serves a need that I think is important? Did you see that, or did you just say, you know what, this is something I want to do. I think if I build it, they will come. Which was it? Was it a need to be fulfilled, or this is what I want to do?
I'll start by saying that both. There's a need. There's so many wonderful community organizations that serve youth who are first generation low income, but also I'm very passionate about mentoring young people and giving them those opportunities they need to succeed in college and in their careers. So this is my life's work. This is what I would do, my whole entire life. And so there's a need, and also just having the passion for doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agree. And just to piggyback as well. So that's what makes it intentional, right? If there's a need, if you can see the need and be able to address that, that's an intentional effort to help the community. So definitely knowing that, we see there's African-American students that want to get to schools or post-education, and how are they going to do that? So providing them the scholarship to take that step, that was the need.
I think from the Institute standpoint, it was both a need and it was necessary to bring a large cohort of community players and those involved to be able to build an institute to change the paradigm in our communities.
So these funds require people to contribute to them. How do you talk to people about the importance of contributing to your funds so that it does have longevity? What are the conversations like in your communities, Daniel, and then Paula, and then Brother Carl and Ms. Price?
Yeah, absolutely. I am so honored that I have a small group of donors who believe in my mission, in my vision, and some of them are actually on the call. I know like Stephen Perry is on, Sherry is on, and Aaron Spear is on. Really, I tried my best. Our team tries to connect with people who, again, people who want to see young people uh, succeed, and it's challenging. It's challenging, especially when you are asking for support as a small organization. It's very challenging, but it's doable. And I'm just so grateful that so many people have believed in my vision and continue to support me. And I invite more people to support us and learn more about it, especially young men like myself who are, Black, gay, and it's very important that our organizations are supported, not only, every day. Yeah.
I think what's out there, when we look at the community and we make contact with the people, we find a great need. Sure, there's a lot of programs out there, but you give me a bad program with good people, would make it work. You give me a good program with bad people in it, it's not going to work. So a lot of times what we find out that a lot of programs can only go so far because regulations or whatever it might be. We in turn think that we can do the impossible that most people are not doing, and that's engaging every day, contacting people, looking at the resources they need, and trying to make it happen for people to believe in. Because once you make a statement and say you're going to do something, then you have to follow up. For example, if I tell kids, I'm going to pick you up, I'm going to be there to pick you up. I'm not going to leave you stranded.
And the other thing I would say in terms of being able to build the resources, what we did for the Brother Carl Institute is we developed and built a board of ambassadors. And the board of ambassadors consistent of business people in the community organizations, philanthropists, and nonprofits. And so that board of ambassadors began as an organized group to really begin to build and pull together the Brother Carl Institute. In addition to that, we had the Jewish Federation that was very interested in the community and working with the community. So we engaged the Federation also in the building of the Institute. And so that what happened was the total community and all aspects of the community became involved, because when you have a community in crisis, the whole city has to share in some of the issues and some of the things that are going on. And so everyone had to get on the same page, work together, get to know each other, and begin to build the Institute.
Yes,
Paula?
and yep, and just to add for the New Haven Alumni chapter, I firstly have to thank the chapter members and their networks. The New Haven Alumni chapter members have been able to build and sustain this fund for over 15 years, and it's still growing. And it really takes, of course, the efforts of sharing, our information about what the chapter does for the community, whether it's programs, whether it's scholarships, but showing the value of what it is to invest in a fund like this. Because again, it is our scholarship fund, but we also do a lot of other things in the community. So seeing how these scholarships help the students years later is very, it's heartwarming, right? You look at someone who you gave a scholarship to 5 years ago and you see that they've graduated and they're now an adult and living their life. They can look back and say, thank you for the money you provided. I was able to start, my collegiate career. I was able to go into the field I enjoyed. So again, thank you to the chapter members and their networks. But then also thank you to the partnership with Community Foundation, because they've been very beneficial in helping us even, fundraise and just plan and really just keep the fund going as well. So thank you again.
So when you all think about Black philanthropy in our communities, when you think about what we need in our communities. What does this mean to you? Do you think of yourselves as philanthropists? Is that a conversation that you have with people who are interested in what you're doing? How do you think of yourselves in this role?
As it relates to philanthropy and Black philanthropy, I don't think that you can effectively raise money for anything unless you are willing to give yourself. I never ask anybody for anything if they do not know that I have already done it myself and will continue to do it. And that is very important because then people know you are serious about what it is you're trying to accomplish. And I think as Black philanthropists, we must be willing to step in, lean in, and give.
Daniel, Paula?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say I am a philanthropist, and, my career in philanthropy is not traditional. So I didn't go out and I didn't create a tech company and sell it for $1 million and decide, hey, I'm going to start a foundation. No, I started, using my own money to start, I remember, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say,
yeah.
you did it the other way around. Like, I want people to understand that you do not have to be starting a hedge fund or a tech company in order to create an opportunity to give into a legacy.
Absolutely. You could start with, $50, $100. And if there are already funds that exist, contribute, to join. Actually, I have a good story to share. Recently, there's a young woman who thought about starting her own scholarship fund, and she researched nonprofits in the area in Bridgeport, and she saw our foundation, and she said, instead of me going to start my own scholarship, I'm going to contribute to your foundation and be part of your community. So it's really, you don't have to have millions to be a philanthropist.
Mm-hmm. And so, Paula, talk to me about the philanthropy part for the New Haven Alumni chapter, because it is a sorority for service. Does this meet the motto of service, this level of giving?
Absolutely. It's being of service, right? How are we investing in our community? How are we building our community? How are we sustaining our community in, like you said, creating those legacies for years to come when we're not even here anymore? So all of that service to our community to continuously give and pour into our communities.
Mm-hmm. So, JoAnn and Brother Carl, when y'all are doing this work in Bridgeport, yes, when you're doing this work in Bridgeport, what are you met with? How much education do you have to sort of share with people about what you are trying to do?
I'm not sure if they heard you.
Okay. JoAnn, Carl? Okay, they might have audio problems. Okay, so Daniel and Paula, how much education do you have to do with the communities that you serve about what you are trying to do with your fund and the way that you are raising money?
Yeah, it's lots of education, lots of questions, lots of educating for sure, because people want to understand, what impact is your work having? Who are the people who benefit from your services? So we do a lot of educating through storytelling. So sharing success stories. Many of our graduates, kids who have gone through our mentoring program, scholarship program, have graduated from top colleges throughout the US. And so sharing those stories, sharing that, hey, look what your investment did, so lots of educating, and we do it through digital storytelling, through our website, and through social media. So lots of storytelling to educate.
Yes, and I have to add that I'll have to definitely shout out our scholarship committee. Our scholarship committee puts a lot of effort and time into making sure that when we do put out applications for the scholarship, it's very intentional. So intentional is a word we've been using, but it's very intentional as to how we distribute the scholarship applications. And then the process too of, how we're having interviews and really accepting all candidates to come in and really share, why they deserve the scholarship, and then their application as well being reviewed. So it's a long process, but I can definitely say the scholarship committee puts forth a lot of effort. And then also too, educating the schools, right? And ensuring that they're pushing out the scholarship application, right? Mm-hmm. And send it to multiple schools, but how do we make sure it's getting in front of all of the students, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure that we have a full pool of applicants that are applying.
So now I want to talk a little bit about opportunity and equity, right? Because you have a relationship with the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven, which helps support this effort. Talk to me a little bit about what that means and what your relationship is with the Community Foundation, because there's a lot of conversations about equity and inclusion. And I would imagine that the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven understands that by supporting funds by and of Black people helps them further their mission of equity and inclusion. So talk a little bit about the relationship between you and the Community Foundation and what that looks like.
Yeah, I guess I can start, and I can talk about the Fairfield County's Community Foundation, which is, you know, the Community Foundation in Fairfield County.
Yes, Fairfield County.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm
That's
biased.
Okay. Yeah, no. You know.
Forgive me.
Yeah, I would say that I grew up with the Fairfield County's Community Foundation. You know, when I graduated high school, I received multiple scholarships from them. And when I was educating myself about starting nonprofits and leading nonprofits, I participated in many of their workshops and training. And now as a nonprofit leader, we also benefit from their competitive grants. And also some of my our donors have donors advice funds at the Fairfield County Community Foundation, which support our students. So the relationship that the No Trust Foundation has with the Fairfield County Community Foundation is amazing. And I just appreciate everything that they've done to uplift my story and my work and the impact it's making in the community.
Paula?
Yes, I think Carl wanted to speak.
Paula, go ahead.
Oh, okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. So again, just making sure that, you know, the Community Foundation, again, has been they've been a great partner with us. So every time that we wanted to do any kind of fundraiser, any kind of philanthropic endeavor, they've always just been there for us and to make sure that we are, you know, propelling forward with the fund. Again, I can say 15, 16 years ago, we started this fund, and it's grown tremendously, 10 times what it started with, right? And that takes the network, that takes the partnership, that takes sharing with your peers and really showing the importance of giving, you know, to your community.
So Carl and JoAnn, talk a little bit about your relationship to your community foundation, wherever you are, and what that relationship has meant to you and been for you and supported you and helped you along this way as you are growing your foundation and this, well, as you're growing this institute.
So as it relates to the Hartford Foundation, I was the former chair of the Hartford Foundation. So, and I was on that foundation board for 10 years, 3 of which was as chair. So I'm very familiar with the foundation, the great work it has done. And I work very closely with the development group at the foundation. We have a Brother Carl Institute Fund at the foundation, which individuals have given to, and very generously. And they have been very, very helpful in working with the Brother Carl Institute in terms of the appropriate types of support. So the foundation has been integral, it's been important. It has allowed donors to be very comfortable in giving to the Institute as it's being built. And of course, that's very important. They have gotten to know Brother Carl over time and the work that he's done, and they've been able to really become up front, close and personal to the work. So it has been very, very helpful and instrumental.
So JoAnn, talk a little bit more about, because you come from a foundation background and now you are part of the Brother Carl Institute, Hardrick Institute. What did that mean for you to sort of come from a foundation background to work at this very grassroots level of community support?
Well, the truth of the matter is, just philosophically, I think when you're doing community work, and if you believe in it, you have to have a heart for the work in the first place. And so I have never worked from the top down. It's always been from the community on and taken advantage of various opportunities to serve the community. So I got to know Brother Carl actually by saying, who is this man and what is he doing? And actually following him around the community so that I could see firsthand the impact that he had had on people, on families, on young people. So I do not think that you can be involved in foundation work and not be dedicated and involved in the communities. I think the level at which you have to be grounded is very important, and it's been critical in the Brother Carl Institute because Brother Carl knows me well, I know Brother Carl well, and we've been able to broaden the relationships throughout the community and in the philanthropy, because Brother Carl, unbeknownst to him in some ways, he's a very effective fundraiser because of the work that he's done and what people know about him and what he's been able to accomplish.
Mhm. So talk to me a little bit about what these organizations, what these funds mean to the communities that you're serving. Because I'm not sure if everybody understands what you're trying to do, but you do have to go into community and sort of say, this is what we're doing. And hopefully, I think that as people know more about everyday practical people doing this, that they in turn will create these same kinds of legacy building opportunities for our communities. So we will always have fish fries. We will always have raffle tickets. We will always have parties and all that kind of stuff. But for me, this seems like next level building into a future for our communities. Talk a little bit about how this aligns with your personal values. Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. The work that I do is very important, and I believe in giving back. And supporting the community, especially for young people who don't have the resources. I've worked with lots of young people, for example, who come from different countries. They come to this country without knowing anything. So really giving back, helping them, learn English, helping them apply to colleges, helping them with, many things they need to succeed, aligns with my personal values, always giving back. So it's like, you work hard, you do everything you need to do, and when you become successful, you have to pay forward, you have to uplift others, and so forth. That's all I'm all about: paying back, giving back, helping people succeed, and so that they can reach their goals and dreams.
Paula?
Yes, definitely giving back, but personally, I'm a problem solver, right? So in this instance, the scholarship we provide, they remove a barrier. There might be a barrier between how can this student get from high school to the next stage in their life that they're looking to go to, right? How can we remove any kind of financial barrier that it takes for them to get to that next step? So personally, me being able to remove that barrier, again, that's solving that problem, right? And that's helping them get to the next stage in life. So I think that I've been reading the chat as well, so I'm multitasking. And someone mentioned that us pouring into these students, that gives them, the young philanthropists, I can give back now. Someone gave to me, I can give to the next person, and just continues to go on and on and on.
Carl and JoAnn?
So I want to ask Brother Carl to speak to this because I think it's important. When people realize that you give from the heart and you do it in a humble way, and that you're only doing it to improve your community, it makes a huge difference in terms of how serious you're taken. And it also gives people an opportunity to get to know you. And I want to ask Brother Carl to speak to this, but we had a philanthropist because we had launched a very effective public relations campaign. So we had a lot of feedback from many constituencies. One gentleman who gave to the Brother Carl Institute knew Brother Carl and said, I want in. I asked him to have a conversation with Brother Carl, and come to find out, they had worked together 20 or 30 years ago, and this gentleman had a great respect for Brother Carl's work. So Brother Carl, you perhaps might want to speak to that.
Yeah, that was going back to the area of the South Ashland Neighborhood Development area. I grew up in the project, and what I can remember about growing up is that even though we were very poor, we were very rich because we had each other. And I remember someone always giving something to me or giving something to my family, that we didn't have a family of 12. So when I joined South Ashland and the community I grew up with, I was looking at the changes. I was looking at going back to, well, what happened? We grew up, but we didn't grow up that way. We had families, but we also had an extended family, and that extended family was missing. So that extended family became the South Ashland Neighborhood Development that we had, that people could turn to. So we became part of the family of the community, and that individual used to look at the work that we do, even though we weren't making it a lot of money, but we were dedicated night and day solving problems. If the money was there, fine. If it wasn't, we continued to work hard. And he noticed the difference in the community.
And so the positive, the outgrowth of that, when he saw that a Brother Carl Institute was being developed, he said, great, this is a way to institutionalize this work.
So let me tell you a little bit about my fund, because this is going to speak to how we share information and how we get information, because I don't want anybody to go away from this conversation thinking that this is just an elite group of people talking about elite things. No, I am friends with Reverend Ursula Hughes. I saw her, she is the executive director of the Prosperity Fund. I saw her speak somewhere in a very poignant way about anybody anybody can start a fund. All it takes is like whatever. And so I called her up and I said, I think I might want to do something. I know something about women coming out of prison. I'm a woman who came out of prison, and I see a need. I see when women come out of prison, they don't have access to ready cash. There's nobody going to give them ready cash. And in order for a woman to live with some dignity, they have to have some money in their pocket to take care of their basic needs, just their basic needs. And so I started having these conversations with people. I started inviting people, leave your wallet at home and see how far you get in the day without any money. Just go to work and don't take your wallet. Well, I mean, take your driver's license, but don't take any money, and see how far in the day you can get before you realize you don't have any access to money. So I started that. So when I started having that conversation with people, I thought, I have to figure this out. So Reverend Ursula Hughes we sat down and we talked, we met, and she just made it seem like I could do it. Like she just put wind beneath my wings so that I could do it. So we launched this fund last year at the beginning of Black Philanthropy Month from my porch in New Haven. To date, the fund has about $11,000 in it. I told myself I would give myself a year to raise money before I start disseminating it to organizations that could use this money. Because oftentimes when you're an organization doing social justice work or any of that kind of work, you get a grant or whatever, there's no room for you to give money to people to help them support their basic needs. You can give them a gift card, you could do all those things. But the money is always, this is unstructured, unrestricted money that I want to help these organizations support their women returning to community from prison. So I understand what it means to sort of not know how to do this and just talk to the right people who will walk you, hold your hand to do that. And then it is an amazing thing when you ask people to help you with a cause and how readily people are willing to help. So that's been my experience, that I had Ursula Hughes hold my hand, and everybody at the Prosperity Foundation, everybody at the Community Foundation sort of cheer me on like I could really do this. So I want people out here who are listening to understand that you do not have to be in a position of high power. You don't have to run a church. You don't have to do all these things. You could be a regular person that believes strongly in some sort of effort that speaks to your heart, mind, and soul, or whatever God has called you to do, or whatever it is, that you can get support to do it. And that will be your legacy. I wasn't interested in a legacy. I was just interested in making sure that whenever women come out of prison, they'd have access to some funds. So I want people to know. So I want you all to talk a little bit about how are you going to share your information about how you did this so that people will feel like, yes, you're doing this. I want to do it. How accessible and readily are you all able to share your journey or your story, or just who to contact to do this kind of work? Daniel, you can start because you've always been first.
Sure, yeah. I think I'm available for to provide information. I've learned so much in the past 13 years that I've been leading the Dana Trust Foundation. I'm still continuing to learn, but there's a great resource at all these community foundations. The Greater New Haven Community Foundation, the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, the Fairfield County Community Fund, all these foundations, the Prosperity Foundation, they have resources for people who want to start funds or start giving back. There's so many other resources. So I would say start at your community, your local community foundation, but also social entrepreneurs like myself who have done it, who have been on the ground. We're also a great resource. And for me, I'm always available. I'm always sharing my knowledge. And it's an honor. It's an honor, again, paying it forward. I want to share knowledge. I want to share information. And, I'm available.
Yes, and to Daniel's point, I'm also available. I'll put my contact information into the chat. And again, we have a philanthropy committee as well, and we have a chair who's just as readily available to help. So again, the goal is to how do we continuously drive people to continue legacies for generations to come, right? And that's not just one scholarship fund, it's not just two scholarship funds, it's multiple funds that help drive and invest in our community. So again, I will put my information into the chat. Our website is nhacdst.org. We have information there. So we are available to help. And of course, again, I must thank the Community Foundation because they've been a great help along the way.
Carl and JoAnn?
I would say that it's very important to be able to do this work and the work that everyone is talking about with humility, and be able to comfortably interact with all people. I think it's very important in our community, the Black community, that we ensure that we reach each other regardless of our circumstance. Because if we don't do that, we cannot really relate to the people that we're trying to serve. And so I think when we look at Brother Carl and myself coming together, people probably think we're an odd couple in some ways. But the truth of the matter is all of the resources and the gifts that he has, combined with the gifts that I have, and combined with the gifts that other people have given to the Institute in terms of what they have to share, is phenomenal. And people take it seriously because you have groups of people coming together that have not done it historically. And so I think that is so critical to the work that we do, because it's one thing to do the work, but if they don't see you and they don't interact with you and they don't know you, I don't see how people take you seriously. And so I think that's one of the important pieces. You spoke to that with respect to the organization that you have built. People have to know that you're serious in the first instance. And I think, Brother Carl, you would say that as well.
Yeah, I certainly will. When you ask people, what do? You say, if I say I do 1,000 things, then you need to ask the people that I do it for whether they were successful. It reminds me when I was at a funeral last week, and Victor Russ, who was a minister there, said to me, I remember Brother Carl when I was 14 years old, and he gave me my first summer job, and they stole my bike in Bellevue Square, and he gave me a ride to work every day because I didn't have a bike. I didn't remember that, but he remembered. And so people remember the things that you do because you did it from the heart. I didn't have to do that. He reminded me what I did. And then he went on to preach about you don't forget certain things or certain people when they go out the way to do things. You always remember that. And that's what I always hear in the community. The things that you did, I wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for you, Brother Kyle. I'd be probably locked up because you steered me in the right direction.
So I want to ask all of you all, what do you want our Black communities and communities of colors to know about how we create legacy and how do we build community around creating legacy for our communities? Talk to me about what you think we could do moving forward.
I'll go first this time. Sorry, Daniel. I can't even say I think, but I know if we continue to work together, it'll change the game. If we continue to build together and do things together, we're stronger. It'll change everything. So just continue to build together and not feel like there's a competition with anyone, right? I'm just gonna speak specific to the scholarship fund. We have a fund, so I can't support yours. No, we can support everyone's fund because the more the merrier. So the more we build together, the stronger we'll be as a Black community.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Definitely, we need to support each other. We need to uplift each other. And I will also encourage other philanthropists, especially people who are watching. We are in the community doing the work. You know, we need support, not only with Facebook reshares or retweets, with money. We need funds to continue providing mentorship and scholarships. And like, you know, Paula just said, you can donate. We can support each other. Let's just support each other and invest in each other and uplift each other.
JoAnn and Carl?
I absolutely agree with both of you. And I also think that it's important that we write checks as a community and support the work, all of the work that we're doing in our communities, because we cannot expect others to support us if we don't support each other. And I think that's critical in every single way. The other thing is, and I think this was also mentioned, everybody has a variety of gifts. None of us have all the gifts, but many of us have many gifts. And when we take advantage of those gifts and bring people in to be a part of whatever it is you're building and developing, more people want to join and be a part of it because they see that it becomes a family, a marriage, taking advantage and working with everyone to build a significant organization or build a significant fund, you know, whatever that may be.
So I want each of you to sort of speak to the future and what would you like your fund to do and look like 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 100 years from now? And it is possible because we belong to a sorority that's 109 years old. So another 100 years, what do we think? What we imagine? What do you hope? What do you dream for? Talk a little bit about that. Anyone, all of you.
I think it's important to reach back. And I think it's important. It's like history. If you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. It's important that you understand that what you're doing, you got to reach back and bring somebody up so they can continue. And not only that, they can add to what you're doing because situation changes, but that knowledge that they have from you is very important to sustain what you were doing. A lot of times we do it alone and we don't bring people on that might be younger than us, or we don't go down to that young generation to train them. So we know once we're training them, it doesn't matter whatever happens to us, we know it's going to continue on. So it's important for us to reach back and build.
Yeah, a few years from now, I want my work to impact the lives of thousands of young people who are first generation and from low income communities. We'll be working in, I work in Bridgeport, Connecticut. I work in New York City, and also starting to work in Houston, Texas. And my foundation will be, we're gonna raise millions of dollars. We're on the journey going there. We're gonna build a powerful endowment and help young people here in the United States, help young people in Rwanda. My foundation will be a global organization that makes a huge impact. That's a dream.
Yes, and the goal for the fund, or the hope for the fund over the next decades or years, whatever the case may be, is just to continue to grow, right? But intentional growth, and ensuring that those who we are helping, they're able to come back and then share that with future recipients. So how do we continuously share what's been happening, and it really be documented, right? To say, okay, who got the fund who got the scholarship award 10 years ago, right? And they're still attached with the chapter and understand the value of what that did for their life during that time. So just really making sure that we're staying in contact with our recipients and really making sure that we continuously grow as a scholarship fund.
I would say for the Brother Carl Institute, we are building from the ground up. We're building out. We're building a significant philanthropic organization of multiple donors. And we want to be sure, and we want to ensure that people of color are giving to the fund, because we're looking to save, build, and allow our young people to continue to grow. Very, very critical. So at this point, we're looking and we're kind of completing our first year, but we will have to raise multiple $1 million to do the work that we're doing here in Hartford and then throughout the state, and then continue on, because we're trying to change what we're all dealing with and we all hear about all over the country. So we've had to build, and we are building an institution, and we know everybody has a role in being part of that process.
So I don't want to leave this conversation without speaking to what people think is the elephant in the room, that our communities are under siege, and our communities have a great deal of barriers and issues and problems at every turn across the board. And maybe philanthropy might not be on their hearts and mind. And I do know that we are the most giving people on the planet, that no one gives to more organizations than Black people, whether it's your church, whether it's raising money for Boys and Girls Club, whether it's a Little League or Pop Warner or AAU, whatever it is, we have always been raising money for those things. But talk to us, each of you, and because you all represent different parts of the state: Hartford, New Haven, and Fairfield. I mean, those are very distinct places in our state. Talk to us about how do we have these conversations about raising money into a legacy in the face of abject poverty, educational concerns, economic concerns, education concerns, all the concerns. How do we still manage to sort of support these organizations? How do we do it? And what do you say to people who is on the fence about, I don't know how to give, how do I give, what should I give? Maybe I don't have anything to give. Talk a little bit about that.
I'll start. It really starts with education, right? So we can't assume that, well, no one can assume that a person knows who you are, what your organization is, what your fund is all about, unless you've told them about it, they've had a chance to look into it. So when someone feels like they have a vested interest in something, I feel like they're more inclined to give, right? Versus just saying, donate $5. So what am I donating $5 to? So really having that discussion and really educating the person about what your fund is, the value of it, and how it can help your community. They have that vested interest to say, okay, I can donate $5 because I see where my money is going.
Anyone else want to chime in?
I think to your point, I think you have to be visible, but an organization, I do not believe, grows substantially unless you have a wide network of individuals and people interested and involved. And so what we're doing on every level, because the truth of the matter, if somebody wants to give $5 because they think what you're doing is worthwhile, that is critical, because they are focused on giving with respect to the financial part of it. And so we want to be able to interact and encourage every aspect of our community in what it is we're doing. And I think part of the success of that happens because they see the potential positive impact, and they see varieties of people involved in the work and what can be accomplished. And I think when people see that, they take it seriously, then people begin to step in and really want to be a part of that process. And then finally, and I think Brother Carl can speak to this, everybody is not the right voice. Brother Carl's a better voice in some situations. I'm a better voice in other situations. And then we have others who are better voices. And so we got to make sure we get the right voices in this process in terms of what we're doing, because we all have so many talents and many strengths.
It has a lot to do with trust. Do the community trust you? Do they trust your organization based on the work that you're doing? And they look at what you're doing and they see the results. So therefore they can trust and make a contribution because they believe in what you're doing. And they see the results, they see the receipts.
Daniel?
I would say we all have something to give, something to make a difference. So lots of educating, you know, I'll put also our information for the Daniel Trust Foundation in the chat so that people can research us. Just educating people, and we all can contribute, whether it's $10, $5, $50, $100,000, we all have something we can contribute to these causes,
Well, I want to thank you all so much for your time and your talents today. I think this was a lively and rich conversation. I think people gathered a great deal of information. I would invite people who are listening and who are in the chat to contact any one of these folks on the panel, or contact your community foundation, wherever you are, whether you are in Bridgeport, or if you're in Hartford or Fairfield or New Haven. Contact those folks. I would invite you to think about giving. Black Philanthropy Day, or Black Giving Day, is I think the 28th through the 30th or the 31st. So that's an opportunity for you to give and give graciously to the best of your ability. That's what I hope that you'll do. Erica, are there any questions that we need to resolve before we or answer or discuss before we close out?
I don't see anything in the chat. It has been such a robust conversation that I think you addressed everything along the way. And I appreciate everybody that was kind of, monitoring the chat and the Q&A. So I think we are all set. Obviously, we'll review the transcripts, and if there's anything, we will certainly circle back with everybody and answer those questions. But this has been phenomenal. You, my dear, are phenomenal. So I just want to thank our awesome moderator and fund founder of the Freed Woman Fund, Babz Rawls-Ivy, who just did an amazing job this afternoon, and all of our phenomenal panelists. This was so good. This was so very good. So in combination and in partnership with my colleague, Sharon Capetta, and we'd like to thank our Connecticut Community Foundation partners for their collaboration with today's webinar. Couldn't have been done without them. So we've got Shari Anderson from the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, Karen Brown and Joseph Collin from the Fairfield County's Community Foundation, and Orcella Hughes from the Prosperity Foundation. Thank you all for helping, working together to put this webinar, put it together and put it on. We are all here to answer your questions. You can reach out to any one of us and we will help connect you with the right information, with a foundation that might be in your catchment area, whatever is appropriate. But the takeaway here, I think, is that we are all philanthropists. We are all philanthropists and we can all make a difference, and we are making a difference. So reach out to us, those of us who have put this panel together, the panelists, the community foundations, and let us help you advance your philanthropic and your giving goals. That would be my last ask. Actually, I think I'm telling a story. My last ask is that you fill out the evaluation form that you will get after this webinar so that we can continue to put programs on like this, that we can continue to reach out to you and give you the kind of programming that means a lot to you. So again, thank you. Thank you to our awesome moderator, Babz. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you to all of you for taking your afternoon and spending it with us today.
All right. I'll
Thank
see
you
you
so
out here on
much.
these philanthropic streets. So
And on the vineyard, enjoy, Babz.
yes, I am on my way to the beach now. I'll see y'all.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Great job.
Good.